Tobin out doing his dirty boxing today, getting some shenanigans behind the scenes, I believe.
Yeah,
He should be.
he's probably so sad from watching the Heat get their ass kicked last
Oh
night.
my goodness.
I can't tell if he was more sad from the Heat, but listen, the Marlins have been out of it for quite some time. They're starting to build something worth watching now, so he's invested. And now that we're officially the home of the Marlins, you have never met a more insufferable human being than Tobin, the Marlins fan.
Oh my goodness.
Every
Because
single game,
baseball, keep in mind, baseball is his first love. He
every
loves baseball.
single game, we get 9 to 15 messages banishing people to other countries, telling people they're going to Jupiter. I can't tell you. Look, the text messages that came in yesterday, and understandably so, because the Vlad, you were doing the game. The Reds put up 2 in the top of the ninth, 3 or 4 in the top of the 10th, and it was another game yet again that the Marlins were winning, and they let it slip.
Dude, this game was moving along quickly. I
Yeah.
think Sandy's about to throw another.
You know what? We've had two pretty good, like, there's been a lot of good starts wasted with the Marlins early in the season. I mean,
It's
the
still
game
early in the
before was
season.
a 2-0 game.
It's still early, right?
No, I know it's early, but I'm just
was
saying
still
to this point.
But Sandy was Sandy. Now, the interesting thing was, because you guys talked to, remember Clayton McCullough before the season, and Tobin asked Skip, hey, no, Sandy's a very proud individual, proud pitcher and everything. When you want to pull him and he doesn't want to go, how do those conversations go? So the whole time, and we have a great commentating crew, broadcast crew with Jack McCullum, and so he was going in, he was saying, man, this guy could pitch a complete back-to-back Maddox. So the back-to-back Maddox, I'm like, what's a Maddox, right? Maddox is when you throw less than 100 pitches and pitch a complete game. So we're thinking this is happening, and dude, every inning was like, dang, this guy's not going to get to 100 at all. He was still within reach, or it was still, you still understand why he was going out there. But it's early in the season. It's like his third, fourth start. It's his third start. Do you really want your ace to be going 9 innings like that? But it's Sandy. So they showed, I don't know if you guys watched the game, but they showed a clip of Clayton McCullough. Sandy went down after the 8th inning. After the 1-2-3, he went down. After he got the 3 outs, it wasn't a 1-2-3 inning. After he got the 3rd out, he goes down the steps, and you see Clayton McCullough go, following him, right?
Oh boy!
So I count the steps, right? You just go 1, 2, 3, and then all of a sudden, whoop! You see Clayton McCullough right back up the steps. It was the quickest. He did a Michael Jackson spin. So I don't know what Sandy told him, but it was just like. And then he just did. You just saw Clayton McCullough. You saw the back of Clayton McCullough, and then all of a sudden you saw his face back again. It was like, damn, all right. And then you saw Sandy come back for the 9th.
And get the hell out of my face. That's what he said.
And that was some of the questions that were being asked after the game. But listen, he's the best pitcher right now in baseball. He's your best pitcher. He's your best player. I understand him going out there. But once he did give up, and you saw a couple of runners, get him out. You don't need to waste his arm. The guy did come back from Tommy John surgery just a couple of years ago, so you don't want to overuse his arm. But it was interesting. It was very interesting.
Now the Marlins started off the season 5-1. Since then, they have lost 4 out of the last 5. Well, it's early. We're only one game behind.
It's early, but you gotta. What did they say? You got a soft start.
Yeah, wasn't necessarily the strongest start, but that didn't stop this Rockies outfielder from talking crap about the Marlins. Did you guys see this yesterday?
Yeah, we heard it. We listened to it yesterday. But
what are we doing here? You know, the Marlins finally got some culture. People trying to bring us down. You know, we're finally 1 game behind. It seems like we're competing. I'm getting annoying texts from Tobin. we got some solid pieces to work around, and now this guy chooses to trash us. I feel like we're building a culture down here. Mind you, we're 6-5, so
Well,
maybe I'm
I
getting
mean,
a little ahead
look,
of myself. But
What's the
what game?
Rockets?
It's
yeah,
11
right.
game. It's 11 games, so I'm not losing a whole bunch of sleep, and we're not going into emergency mode already. I just think one of the things that is positive for me is if I can look at every single game and pick moments out of the game where if this gets better, they have a good chance of winning. These things can improve over during the course of a year, including the decisions made by both players and manager, right? Next time we get in that situation, let's try doing it this way. These are the ebbs and flows of the season, trying to figure these things out as far as what your players can do in these different situations. The one thing that I'll say is, I would like to see better hitting. That being said, even with the hitting that they've had some opportunities, and I don't know if how good and Vlad, I don't know how to ask this question, but how good do you have to be to disregard your best players to go lefty righty, either in the batter's box or pitching? You understand what I'm saying? I think sometimes teams try to go lefty righty and you take your best players out. And I would say, like, I don't know if you're good enough to have that much depth. You got to play your best players, right?
They like to use the book. They love analytics.
Yeah, but you
Oh,
you
they
might
love
not be deep
analytics.
enough to use the book. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that these guys are Aaron Judge or guys who no matter what they're in the lineup. But I'm saying that at this point in time, your best players got to be on the field because you don't have the depth as a lot of these other teams. And whether it's lefty, righty, or whatever, to take a guy who's hitting the ball well out to go by the book, you're saying to me that the guy I'm putting in has got a chance for more success, not just going lefty, righty. And I would say if my guy hitting the snot out of the ball, I'm leaving him in. I don't care if it's a lefty or righty.
I mean, usually you're going to leave a guy who's, if he's hitting well, he's hitting well, but you might look at the numbers against that particular pitcher. And if he hasn't had a good average and hasn't had good success against that pitcher, then you're going to do the lefty righty.
But how long does that last?
That lasts until that hitter proves that he can be successful against that pitcher.
But he can't prove it. But he can't prove it if you're always taking him out.
Leroy, remember, this is baseball. All you got to do is 10 times you're at bat, get 3 hits.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So if they have why are we making the changes like when
but if you have the numbers, as much as I rip analytics, but if you have the numbers that, okay, look, every time so and so goes against all right, put it this way. This happened back in the days, right? If you're a great left-handed hitter and Randy Johnson's pitching, and your numbers against Randy Johnson is like 3 for 21, that great left-handed batter got a day off.
Right.
He's got a day off.
Right.
Even though he's one of the best players on the team, could hit for power, probably hit for average. If the numbers show he's not successful against that pitcher, he's not going against that pitcher. That's just been baseball forever.
I know it's been baseball, but I think of it like this. My best players need to be on the field.
I get that. But if your best player is not capable of being successful against that particular player or pitcher, and the person that I put if he's a left-handed pitcher and I have my best player is a left-handed hitter, and his numbers are bad against that particular pitcher, they're gonna go by the book and put a
I
righty.
know. I
They're gonna
know.
and it, the numbers say it works. I get it. You put your best out there all the time in order for you to win. But that's why they're the managers, and we're
No,
we're not.
I know. I'm not, and again, I understand why they do it, and I think this is maybe, the conversations we had before. This is maybe my background in sports that says your best players give you the best chance to win. Period. And that's how whenever I look at other sports, I always critique it starting there. Wait, if this guy is playing this way at this moment in time, why don't we ride him? You know what I mean? Why don't we, you know, put him in and give him, a chance to keep cooking? So I like and I get it. I'm never gonna be the one to be over critical about it because again, like you said, that's why we comment. That's why but he's the manager.
Yeah.
But it also seems like in a situation where you are, you know, one-handed dominant, so for example, I don't really think they have a whole bunch of left-handed pitching. Um like it- should this plan be dealt with better going into the season if you know you're going to use the analytics?
Look, back in my day, you used to drink a bottle of hooch, chew tobacco when you clock out of
Bottle of
Publix.
what?
Bottle of hooch, chew some tobacco, you clock out of
Bottle
your
of
grocery
hooch?
store. Yeah.
What
You
the
clock,
hell's a bottle of hooch?
you clock out of your job as a mechanic and you go play baseball like a real man.
A bottle of hooch? Wait, what
Oh,
is
yeah. Look,
He talking about prohibition. Like
I'm
what you talking
saying?
about? Right.
Bottle of hooch.
yeah, and then you do one of these before you
God.
take the before
Hey,
you take
Dr.
the bite.
Toboggan.
Arkansas.
Right. But
We
yeah, so like I get it, it and Vlad, you know what? It bothers me in football too, right? Because if your team has been 0 for 4 on 4th and 1s because you can't move the line of scrimmage, then why the hell are you going for it on 4th and 1 talking about the book says go for it? Like what part of, you know, what you know about your team, which you're supposed to know more than anybody, and what part of analytics do you disregard because you know your team? And that's why I kind of say that about baseball. When you know this guy is my best hitter, I don't care what the success rate against that pitcher is. There's nobody else you have that's going to do a better job than him. And so, what part of that comes into play? You know what I mean? It's like taking Sandy out versus putting a closer in. If you know 80% of Sandy is better than 100% of your closer coming in, then a lot of cases and a lot of managers will say, I'm going to try to get my starter to finish this because our bullpen is terrible.
But right, last point before we go to break. But how much you got to put somebody's, you got to put your ego to the side sometimes.
Right. That,
Because
but I understand. I
what I
understand
mean,
all
I
that. Yeah.
understand. I think if they had Fairbanks, who's on paternity leave, he just had a child. I think Fairbanks was there. I think he would have just had Fairbanks close, and I think
Yeah.
maybe Sandy would have understood because that's the closer. But
Right.
I can understand if Sandy's like, no, I'm pitching great, and our bullpen doesn't have their closer. We don't have our closer. Let me close this. I'm the ace of the team.
Right.
But once you give up a couple of batters, yeah, I can understand you taking him out. You don't want to waste his arm. Remember, this is still April. We're still April. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah.
I don't know, man. These guys are soft. Back in my day, paternity leave. We'd have the baby in the dugout. We'd drink our bottle of hooch. We'd go before we got to the plate, and we'd swing at everything.
Why do you? What are you? Tom Hanks here? What is this? A League of
Oyster
Their Own?
words would never
know what I mean?
stand for this.
What are you? What are you?
I don't